Hi, this is János, Reverb Audio, and my Audio Club Monday session got a little bit short because my camera decided I reached the recording limit. So last time I left off with a Musical Heritage Society recording of Claudio Monteverdi. That's music from 4 centuries ago. And now I'd like to continue with another Music Heritage Society recording with Marc-Antoine Charpentier. And now we have gone, so we are staying actually with early music, going back in time to a little bit more modern times. End of the 1600s, he died 1704, but we are still pushing like a little bit more than 300 years. Kind of ancient music compared to what we have today in the TVs and media. And in contrast with that other Music Heritage Society, this recording is of much better quality. I would say this is a high quality recording, and it was very, very rewarding to listen to it. And this is also a Hawaii Public Radio sale find this recording, and I'm keeping it. Now getting even closer to our times. This is a fantastic sounding recording. It's a Telefunken recording. Musik und ihre Zeit series. Luigi Boccherini. Cello concerts. C major, D major, C major. So these are the ones. Okay, I'm just checking if I covered up catalog number with my sticker. No, I did not. Okay, there's catalog number. Okay. So if you can find it, grab it. This is absolutely beautiful music. If you like cello, check it out. Beautiful recording quality, beautiful playing, and for those of you who don't know about Luigi Boccherini, he's an Italian musician, and if you like Antonio Vivaldi, then you will also be, I can recommend Boccherini for you. He won't be a disappointment. So I think that's it. I wanted to talk a little bit about music, and also if you want to try these out, I really recommend to try out the LPs to have an idea about the recording quality. Of course, a lot of us, we might have only just digital version. You can also try out like the digitized version of the LPs, but that might have absolutely no tangential relationship to the actual sound quality that the recordings themselves have. Why is that? That's because and here I come to the point of today's video. So I made this video to talk about the voicing of audio gear. Every age, every time has its own voicing that is characteristic of that time period. How people perceive this, people think that as the time progresses, sound quality is getting better and better. The gear you can buy sounds better and better, what we have recorded material sounds better and better, and everything is just better and better. And when I have my stereo that I purchased in 2024 with the most modern solid-state architecture, with the Hypex modules in it, and the newest streaming device, and coupled with high excursion speakers capable of handling 5,000 watts or something like that. Of course, I exaggerated, but that's the tendency towards which our audio industry has been progressing towards: smaller and smaller speakers, higher and higher power output amplifiers with higher and higher damping factors, putting out higher currents, lower volts into lower and lower ohm loads, into near short loads. And everything has become extremely specialized toward digital material. And even though there's like still a lot of analog recordings being pressed, issued, reissued, but it's not the same that the vinyl in the 50s, 60s, 70s was. Because in that time, in the 50s, 60s, the recordings, and not just the recordings, but also the playback system were specialized to play back analog. Everyone, all of the recording engineer had the mindset to record music in the analog domain, to produce edit in the analog domain, and with the purpose that it will be listened as an analog media by the end user. And today, by contrast, the analog has become a second thought. It's like a spare wheel. And even if you put a lot of money into your vinyl system, if you are putting it into a modern amplifier with modern loudspeaker, it is still just a spare wheel and will massively, massively underperform in these recordings which were made in the days of vinyl, in the days of analog audio. And for some of you will say that, no, this is impossible, there's tremendous development, etc., etc. But I just ask everyone to just be a little bit calmer, kinder, and just think about it. And if that's not your impression, then I suggest just do a little bit more research into the area, talk to people who have this kind of experience, and if you haven't met with anyone, maybe then it's your lucky day, because I can tell you about this kind of experience. And that's because just because you have a turntable and you put it into a system that's optimized for 2024, that will not present you with the greatest benefit that the vinyl can provide to you. Because today the focus is on resolution and all kinds of audiophile parameters. So today everything is sold by the pound. Everything is like, do I hear 5% more crisp imaging? Can I like 5% wider dynamic range, 5% wider frequency range? And people just go totally mental, just to get like a tiny bit, to stretch the extremes. So today audio systems are all about extremes. Their extremes have been stretched like a rubber band. So when you have an audio system that reproduces sound and music for you, now I want to suspend everything you know about audio and sound reproduction, and I give you a different paradigm. I encourage you to make a paradigm shift in your approach, how you approach music and sound. Is that when you listen to music, you are not listening to disjointed parameters like dynamic range or depth of imaging or how high the performers are, like do I hear this sound from this height, other sound from that height, and is it accurate, is it the way that the engineer wanted, and going into questions like that. So today everything is all about that, on how you can find more and more micro details, micro parameters that we can measure, compare, like a monumental pissing contest. And when we turn something into a pissing contest, then we can always compare two products, and one of them is pissing on the other, or at least the person doing the comparison can and will make it look like that's what is happening. However, whether that's beneficial for you or not, that's a completely different thing, because where we are lacking complete awareness is that every comparison that we make depends on the setup and depends on the conditions. And to make an accurate comparison, anyone can compare A/B test two things. But what are the variables? What are the differences? I met very few people who can create a comprehensive list of all the parameters that were controlled between the two tests, and that they are aware of what they truly compared. Because when you change to equipment, to gear, what you are changing is not just equipment A or B, but equipment A might have a perfect synergy with that system you are playing in, and even if it's vastly inferior to equipment B in most regards, but in that case it will be a lot better performing than equipment B, which in general might be a lot better than equipment A, but in that specific circumstance it's not the case. And it takes an extreme experience for even for reviewers to recognize if that is happening, what is happening, and sadly there's only very little talk about that in many of the reviews. There are some reviewers who talk about things like that, who will give you a bigger picture, and luckily there's some folks who are getting into that a little bit. But in general, people are not expecting it, are not even aware that it's required for a good overview, or a good overview for something. And now what I told about the paradigm shift is that this is our current judgment system, the judgmentality, age of judgmentality, when we just judge everything based on this pissing contest of who has stretched the rubber band furthest. Which equipment gives you more and more of that. However, what people have not realized is that when we are stretching the parameters, so we are tasking the audio system to stretch to the extremes, then what's happening is the same thing that we have been seeing in the camera scene with Sony versus Canon, is that Sony has been winning all of the number and measurement wars against Canon. Canon has been left in the dung heap. Like if you look at the DxOMark measurements about the camera performances, it's down the drain, it's down the gutters, not even counts. Sony has been winning like with the low light performance, dynamic range, high light rescue, etc. However, when you stop listening to the YouTube reviewers and you actually start to talk about people who are into filmmaking and who are shooting with cameras, who are professional photographers, zero of my photographer friends has Sony system, and what they say is that that Sony has a lot of advantages and does things really well, but their skin tones, the color information is rubbish. It presents you with plastic people. So there's the same thing is happening, that when you are stretching the dynamic range, you are stretching the highlights, the shadow recovery, you have less information left in the mid-range, in the tones that are there for the texture, the skin texture, tonality. It's like aliens and like silicone dolls. That's how the Sony photos look like. And by the way, just looking at the newest Sonys, like the R5, A7R5, they already got rid of that problem, so Sony finally has gotten to get rid of that. But think about that, Sony is an absolute epic giant, and their research budget is bigger than Canon, Nikon, Fujifilm, and you name the whole lot put together. And it took them like 2 decades to figure it out. and that's and also at the same time you would say, okay, now then we can have like everything together, but still Canon also has figured out the other parameters as well. So now they also have like extreme dynamic range. So by now all of the cameras have evolved towards like the superhuman range of the cameras. With audio systems we are not there yet. So there's like parallels between the camera and the audio world, but they are not exact, because in audio I think we have not reached there yet to that level as we have with cameras. So what I'm saying is that with stereos, you either have a focus on the extremes, on pushing the extremes, and then your mid-range is compromised, or you are not focusing on it, pushing it to the end of the world, just keeping it at a normal, at a controllable range, and then it stays as a whole picture, as a whole presentation, which is a lot more natural. So the problem, so what happens with audio is that when we are pushing the extremes in frequency range and resolution and especially imaging, the more pinpoint imaging we task our system for, the more artificial the reproduction becomes. And this was my reason why I left completely the commercial audio road, because in the commercial audio road there's no choice, there's no solution that can give you something that has integrity in the sound natural, and doesn't cost as much as a Rolls, I mean the car, the Rolls-Royce car or a Bentley. And I mean literally that kind of money, like $1 million plus. And it doesn't mean that, yes, that such a thing exists, but it doesn't mean that it has to cost that much money to achieve. It can be achieved at a mere fraction of that cost, but it requires a lot of knowledge development, and that's why I created this channel. If you want it for yourself, then here's my advice, and then you can figure it out. There is no exact recipe for it, for the very simple reason that the biggest part of it is your room acoustics. And just like telling you of a system, it won't work. You cannot just plop a certain system in a room and expect it to perform miracle in everywhere. No. It's like your audio system is performing to its best when it's fully optimized to your room. And if it's not, you are hearing only a fraction of that system. And basically, where I started from and where I was going to is that these recordings are such that you will be able to fully appreciate on a system that is capable of presenting you with the whole. And it's not trying to stretch it to the extremes, because even though I'm pretty sure that if you do that with this recording, it will be still a spectacular recording, but the soul of the recording is lost that way. And what do I mean under the soul? So that's a question for another day, because this is about the boundaries of why are we into audio, what is perfection, why do we record music, what is our goal to record music, how is it live, how does it compare to live music, and where do you want to take it, and what are you looking for. So that's something that in the future I want to talk about, and not because that's like the only thing there is, but that's something that I have experienced. That's how I see things now, and actually that's how I have seen it since I was 6 years old, from the first time I started listening to records on my own. Not sure it might change sometime, but in the past 40 years it hasn't changed, so maybe there's some experience, and maybe 4 decades of experience might be something that might be worthy to listen to what I have to say. Thank you for chugging along, and have an amazing day. Bye bye.